Yeah, can we move on to the role of local authorities in tackling air quality? How successful has local air quality management been?
Well, the local air quality management process, I guess, was triggered by the Environment Act some years ago. And what DEFRA did within that process is to cascade much of the responsibility for the measurement, and in this case referred to as a review and assessment of air quality, to local authorities. That's been fairly successful. If you want to look at local air quality, you need to engage with local authorities who understand the local area. They understand the local sources. And indeed, much of the work done by local authorities, you don't need to have done complex models and so forth to identify hotspots, because most of the local authority practitioners would actually know where the major areas of concern are across their networks. So I think it's been quite a successful process. As you might expect, I have a small caveat on that, and that is to do with the fact that local air quality management is about reviewing and assessing and measuring something, which has no help in terms of improving air quality. What you need to do from that is to generate some actions that will improve air quality, and the review and assessment process has the development of an action plan. And what I see as one of the weaknesses in that is not the development of the action plan per se, but the funding of the initiatives within an action plan are often relatively weak. So the money available to actually implement those changes which seem sensible often don't see themselves in the network because of lack of resources. And that's both staff time from local authorities but also finances.
So it's that a failure to give proper priority to the issue that's stopping councils developing air quality management strategies or setting up low emission zones, in your opinion?
My feeling is that local authorities and central government spend a lot of time developing the strategies. As a researcher, one of the things I see as a weakness is the lack of assessment of those strategies in terms of their effectiveness, and that's not some instant thing. It needs some research to go on to actually look at assessing what is the most practical, what are the most efficient measures to improve air quality. But then also, once we've identified a few of those measures, to have them implemented in the network does require financing. And I think that's one of the weaknesses in the whole process. At the end of the review and assessment process, the weakness is a lack of resources to implement action plans.
So do councils have access to adequate information to monitor and improve their policies in air quality, in your view?
I think my own feeling is that local authorities have too much information. There's an immense amount of literature and information on the mechanisms of review and assessments. It's a very process-orientated system of assessing, measuring, assessing, modelling, reporting. Combined with that, there's then all the various help desks which are available to local authorities to try and respond to particular questions that they may have on moving things forward or implementation. And then there are a whole range of technical reports from a range of bodies, including the reports from the Air Quality Expert Group that went some way to try and inform local authorities about some of the important issues in relation to particular pollutants.
So as well as resourcing that you've already mentioned, how could air quality management best be improved at local level?
My own feeling is that one of the complaints we often hear from local authorities is the lack of integrating work across government departments. So the difficulty in engaging with the various government departments that are essentially stakeholders in that question, and they may be DEFRA, the Department of Transport, the Highways Agency, the Environment Agency. All these agencies need actually to be very joined up, providing very consistent advice to local authorities. And I think that's often difficult for local authorities to seek that consensus from those bodies.
Thank you.
Yes, you're talking very much from the technical aspect in terms of TRL and looking at the vehicle controls and pollution and so on. But in terms of what you just said about local authorities, I'm interested in the planning aspect of this. And you've said very clearly that you think local authorities have got all this superb, detailed, expert knowledge. I don't see much evidence from where I sit of what they do with that, because I don't see the transport officers influencing planning decisions which tend to plot the most polluting operations in the most inappropriate cases or places in residential areas. Do you have any comments at all on the planning process?
I do. I'll answer one question first. It wasn't my intention to imply that that local authorities had all this knowledge. They have the knowledge available to them. One of the problems
but they don't use it. It's
one of the problems with local authorities is that the air quality staff within local authorities often have to have several different hats. So the air quality may be something they do on a Monday, and the rest of the week they're looking after other disciplines within the environmental health agenda. So air quality cannot be their only focus, and that is a problem in terms of the dilution of their resources. In terms of the impact of planning legislation on air quality, it is a key topic, and it's one that needs more work to evolve over the next couple of years to really have some teeth within that. There have been some successful applications within the planning system to aid air quality, and I think, for example, the London Borough of Greenwich, in the use of their Section 106 agreements to try and allocate money from developments to air quality issues, has been very successful, and it is being rolled out across the country in terms of how to do it, how to do it most effectively.
Could you just elaborate on what kind of benefits might come from such a Section 106 in terms of reducing air quality? Sorry, in terms of improving air quality. Okay,
as part of that, Section 106 is an agreement between a developer and the local authority to try and ring-fence some money from the developer to support particular initiatives that will improve local air quality in that particular case. And they may be as simple as a junction redesign as part of the development to entry to a new housing development to redesign the junction or the local road network. It may be other physical things like the support of air pollution monitoring activities or modelling activities. So you could use that money for various aspects to support your air quality department within the local authority.
Would you expect every local authority to have a air quality monitoring department?
I wouldn't. I would expect them all to have an environmental health department and a highways and transportation department, and those two departments need to talk to each other.
You'd expect them to talk to each other, would you?
Well, yes. And we do see that quite successfully in many local authorities, and very active negotiations between those two departments that many years ago would not have spoken to each other.
Could you perhaps give us an example of local authorities where that kind of joint working works out?
I think you see it in departments in Leeds. Leeds City Council have very integrated highways and environmental health teams.